Ask yourself this without flinching. How many times have you sent that first message, poured your energy into the conversation, only to be left unread? How many times have you reached out first, explained yourself endlessly, begged silently for a response that never came? This is not mere rejection. It is a ritual of humiliation performed on men who still cling to the outdated belief that chasing is strength and constant presence is power. You were taught to respond, to explain, to maintain the connection. But what if everything you believed about texting back was a trap? What if the greatest power lies in doing nothing at all? This is a hard truth few dare to utter, withholding your attention, your time, your words. This is the ultimate weapon of control. Machiavelli, were he alive today, would not waste his breath on explanations or chasing approval. He would calculate the terrain, sit in silence, and force others to come to him. This video does not offer excuses or soft advice. It offers the cold laws of power, the ruthless strategies of withdrawal, and the blueprint for transforming your silence into domination. If you are ready to stop being the desperate pursuer and start becoming untouchable, type untouchable in the comments now. Your reign begins the moment you claim it. The world has taught you that silence is weakness, that to not respond is to lose, to be distant is to be forgotten, but this teaching is the lie that enslaves you. True power lives not in constant outreach, but in the control of your presence, not in chasing, but in commanding. To withhold your response is not emotional immaturity or cruelty, it is the purest form of dominance. The prince does not grovel at the gates demanding entry. He waits inside, observing, calculating, deciding who deserves his attention. Machiavelli understood the power of patience and the peril of desperation. The man who floods the line, who over-explains, who submits his will through constant contact, reveals a hunger that invites exploitation. The one who masters withdrawal forces uncertainty, and uncertainty breeds value. When you do not text back, you shift from supplicant to sovereign. You redefine the terms of engagement. She is no longer the subject of your pursuit, but a player in your court, waiting for your summons. This withdrawal fractures the familiar narrative. The pursued become the pursuer. The fan becomes the prize. And in this reversal lies your liberation. The humiliation of being left unread transforms into the weapon of unread messages. The frustration she felt when you chased becomes her own test of worthiness, because power is not what you say, it is what you withhold. Your silence is a message louder than any text, a declaration of your sovereignty, your refusal to be anyone's convenience. This is the identity shift you crave, from desperate follower to untouchable man, from one who reacts to one who commands. Your silence is not absence, it is presence in its most potent form. And with this knowledge, you no longer text back, you do not plead for connection. You allow connection to come to you, and when it does, it will be on your terms. Attention is the most valuable currency you possess. It is the coin with which you trade influence, desire, and control. But like any currency, its value is dictated by scarcity. When you give your attention too freely, responding immediately, chasing conversations, offering explanations without demand, you dilute its worth. You become abundant and therefore disposable. The man who floods his availability tells the world he has nothing to lose, and nothing is more dangerous to power than perceived expendability. Machiavelli's wisdom was forged in courts where appearances dictated fate, where silence carried weight, and where patience was a form of armor. The prince who controlled his attention controlled the court. Today your texts, your calls, your replies serve the same function. They either build your throne or erode it. When you withhold response, you create scarcity. Scarcity breeds curiosity, uncertainty, and ultimately, obsession. Her mind fills the silence with questions, doubts, and speculations. What does it mean? Is he angry? Is he busy? Has he moved on? The ambiguity forces investment, mental, emotional, and even physical. The silent man becomes the rare prize everyone wants, but few can claim. This is the power of withholding your attention. It reverses roles, makes her chase, makes her earn. But this currency must be guarded with discipline. Not texting back is not a game of neglect or cruelty. It is the mastery of your own worth. It is the decision to demand respect by limiting access to your presence. When attention is currency, withholding it is the strategic wealth that builds empires. Your silence is not emptiness, it is a vault of power. Guard it jealously, spend it sparingly, because in this economy, power belongs to those who hold the richest reserves. The frame is the battlefield where power is won or lost. It is the invisible narrative that dictates who leads and who follows, who chases and who commands. When you respond first, explain too much, or beg for connection, you surrender the frame. You allow her to write the story, set the tone, and control your value. To reclaim power, you must seize the frame, and the most immediate way to do this is through withdrawal. Not texting back is not passive. It is a declaration. It flips the frame instantly, shifting uncertainty onto her. Suddenly, she no longer knows where she stands. This uncertainty forces her to invest, emotionally, mentally, even physically, in figuring out your value and intentions. Machiavelli's prince would never chase approval. He would cultivate mystery, let others come to him, and strike when conditions were most favorable. Frame control through withdrawal is a law of perception. You make yourself scarce, unpredictable, and therefore valuable. You create tension where before there was desperation. Your silence is a tool that says, I am not yours to command. I am the one who sets the terms. This is the essence of masculine power, commanding presence without neediness. But this law requires discipline. The withdrawal must be calculated, not impulsive. You do not disappear to punish or to play games. You disappear to reset the narrative, to draw her in on your terms. The power lies in the measured silence, the pause that demands notice. Master this, and you shift from follower to leader. You flip the frame, and in doing so, you redefine the relationship. Silence is not absence. It is a weapon wielded with precision. When you hold your tongue, when you withhold your response, you inject uncertainty into the mind of the other. This uncertainty is a psychological pressure that compels investment, focus, and ultimately submission to your frame. The fan floods with words, explanations, and reassurance, hoping to calm storms that only their silence could have stirred. The sovereign cultivates silence, knowing that it unsettles and intrigues. Machiavelli would have admired this tactic. He understood that uncertainty is the mother of control. A prince who reveals his every thought and plan loses the advantage. A prince who keeps others guessing holds power without lifting a sword. In the digital age, silence on a screen carries weight far beyond what is spoken. It is a pause pregnant with meaning, a vacuum that minds rush to fill. The woman you seek to attract will analyze every unread message, every delayed reply, every omission. She will question your intentions, your feelings, your commitment. This mental energy is her investment, fueling attraction, desire, and respect. You create a space where she chases the answer she cannot find. She is drawn to the man who does not give himself fully away. But this silence must be calculated, not erratic. It must serve your frame, not erode it. Over-silence breeds confusion. Under-silence breeds predictability. The art is in balance. Enough silence to spark intrigue, enough presence to maintain authority. In this calculated silence, you become a puzzle worth solving, a prize worth pursuing. You shift from always available to rarely reachable, and in that rarity, you reclaim power. Scarcity is the silent engine of desire and respect. When your presence is constant, your value diminishes. When you are always reachable, you become predictable and ultimately taken for granted. But when you make yourself scarce, when you limit your availability, you create a vacuum that others are drawn to fill. This is not manipulation. It is the natural law of perceived value. Machiavelli understood scarcity's power in politics and war. The fewer the resources, the higher the price. The same applies to relationships and social dynamics. Your time, your attention, your energy are resources. If you spend them indiscriminately, they lose their power. If you spend them sparingly and strategically, they become treasures. Making yourself scarce forces her to invest effort and emotional energy into maintaining the connection. It creates uncertainty, anticipation, and a hunger that the always available man never inspires. Scarcity transforms you from a passive player into the sought-after prize. But scarcity requires balance. Too much absence and you risk fading into irrelevance. Too little and you remain a fixture, ignored, unappreciated, unvalued. The sovereign man masters this balance, calibrating presence and absence to maximize his power. This law teaches self-control, the discipline to resist the urge to respond immediately, to chase relentlessly, or to explain endlessly. It is an assertion of your sovereignty over your own time and attention. Embrace scarcity and watch desire and respect rise. Your silence will no longer be a void, but a signal, a beacon drawing others to your frame. True power lies not in the constant pursuit, but in the ability to make others pursue you. The sovereign man understands that by withholding his presence, his attention, and his approval, he forces her to reveal her true investment. She must chase if she wishes to maintain the connection, and in chasing she shows her value, or her lack thereof. Machiavelli would recognize this as a strategic test of loyalty and desire. The prince does not waste time on those who do not prove their worth. He waits, watching who moves toward him willingly, who hesitates, and who abandons the game altogether. This patience is not passivity, but the calculated exercise of power. Allowing her to chase also flips the narrative completely. No longer are you the desperate admirer, begging for affection or validation. Instead, you become the prize, the one who holds the cards. This shift changes everything. She now acts under your terms, striving to meet the standards you silently set. But this law requires patience and restraint. The man who chases or answers immediately forfeits the advantage. He reveals neediness and weakness. The man who stands firm, who withdraws, and who lets her approach on his terms commands respect and controls the frame. In practice, this means resisting the urge to respond instantly. It means making her work for your attention, for your time, for your approval. It means valuing yourself enough to wait until she shows her true colors. Master this law, and you do not just change the game, you become the only player worth playing for. Detachment is the cold steel in the sovereign man's arsenal. It is not indifference born of weakness or cruelty, but calculated distance wielded as a weapon of warfare. The man who is emotionally detached does not burn with desperation. He preserves his power by controlling his investment. He knows that emotions are tools, not masters. This is the core of masculine sovereignty. Machiavelli would see detachment as the ultimate expression of power, the prince who does not reveal his passions, who measures his actions with the precision of a surgeon, and who refuses to be controlled by fleeting desires. Emotional detachment prevents erosion of will, shields from manipulation, and maintains clarity in the battlefield of relationships. This detachment must be cultivated, not as a mask, but as a disciplined state of being. The man who embodies it is untouchable, unshakable, unmoved by the chaos of longing or rejection. His silence is not absence but command. His withdrawal is not retreat but assertion. In practice, masculine detachment means holding your frame with unwavering calm. It means not reacting impulsively to messages or emotional provocations. It means valuing your self-sovereignty above the need for approval or reassurance. It means transforming your silence into warfare, strategic, purposeful, and devastatingly effective. This detachment does not alienate, it commands respect. It transforms desire into obsession. It creates the psychological distance necessary for power to thrive. Master masculine detachment, and you ascend beyond the desperate fan. You become the untouchable sovereign, cold, calculating, and utterly dominant. Your silence is not absence, it is power. Your withdrawal is not rejection, it is strategy. You are not heartless, you are untouchable. This is the transformation that breaks the chains of chasing and turns the desperate fan into a sovereign man. You now hold the blueprint, the 5 Machiavellian laws that flip the frame instantly, create scarcity, command presence, and enforce detachment. These are the cold truths the world never teaches you, but the rulers have always known. Use them. Own them. Let your silence be the message that changes the game. If you are ready to stop texting first, stop begging for replies, and start commanding respect without compromise, type untouchable in the comments. Let this be your first declaration of sovereignty. Remember this, power belongs to those who control their attention and guard their silence. Your reign begins when you claim it.